were going through the steps to become cops that were turned down because they didn't pass the psychological aspect of the test. One of them was one of my tenants. He was a bouncer at a bar. You know, he'd be good for throwing people around if they got out of hand. But I would hate to have seen him become a Albuquerque policeman. Luckily, he failed the psycho test, so he's back east. You know, throwing someone around back there maybe.
So then, so for you, part of it is that that we as community members need to take responsibility for our own interactions with our officers and be aware of the impact of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would like to see, you know, it's nice that folks are here. We're taking up 3 hours of our time at night. And we're saying what can make the police department better, but other than Diane's comment about volunteering, yeah, in her case she was talking about maybe dealing with parent-kid problems or something, that some civilians could get involved so the police could do more real police work. But I'm just, you know, whatever your capacity could be, and maybe folks just don't realize how many areas are there where we can work with the police to make our community better. I mean, bitching is easy. I mean, talk is cheap, but we all heard that. And bullshit flies or whatever. Anyway, or walks. No, I guess that's the expression. Anyway.
So knowing where we can collaborate.
Yeah.
And being proactive about doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. All right, so let us move on then to question number 3. And really, my experience in facilitating these dialogues is that many people, when they're answering 3, they're answering 4 at the same time. So in the interest of time, rather than separating them into 2 questions, because we have a little less than an hour, I would like to invite you all, since it seems to happen naturally anyway, to provide the answers to 3 and 4 basically at the same time. Does that look all right for you, Jeanette? Okay. So how do you think these goals that we've been talking about, goals for relationship, goals for interaction, we've talked about some of the ways they could be achieved, but what other ways do you have that you could see your goals for our relationship and our interaction between community and the police department? How could they best be achieved? And specific suggestions and ideas as much as possible. Remembering that in phase 3, we are going to take the actionable recommendations and make action plans. So the more specific you are, the less those people have to figure it out. So, and again, looking at concision so we can hear from everybody before our time is up. John, I'm going to start with you and work around counterclockwise. Would you like to share your answers to 3 and 4, please?
John.
I'm sorry, John L. Is that how you
John L. Yeah. Let's see. First one, and we want to combine the 2. Let's specific suggestions and ideas. There's a couple of things that come to mind in regard to my observation. And one of those is that, you know, they talk about shortages in the police department. Yet, as I'm traveling along, I'll see in a parking lot 4, 5, maybe 6 patrol cars sitting there, and they're having a staff meeting. Is that because it's a quiet period, there's no activity, or is it just mismanagement? So that's just something I puzzle over. My specific suggestions are having to do with training, and maybe Klaus will respond to that in kind with and straighten me out in that regard. But I think there's inadequate training going on with a group of officers that are hard to recruit. How do you vet people who don't? It takes a certain type of person to want to come to work as a police officer in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we don't seem to attract them. Why not? But when we do attract them, do we vet them properly and make sure that we have the caliber of officers that you know, that I've seen in the meetings here today? And train them and vet them, but also that training should go to the administrators. It's not just to the police officers, to the administrators in the city having to do with the police department, on up to the mayor himself in abbreviated training, but nevertheless one-on-one coaching, so that he knows what he's doing when he makes a comment about the police department, not something that a administrator has advised him of. So he formulates his idea, his thought pattern, and he responds accordingly, right or wrong. So those goals, how can they be best achieved? Oh, the one thing I wondered about, and maybe you can answer this. You take a homeless guy who's up in the foothills. You have all this artillery. What is the matter with using a tranquilizer
gun.
Has anybody thought about that?
I've thought
That's
about
a
it for
stupid
years.
idea
I
or
talked to my
stupid
husband
thought.
and
But what's the matter with using a tranquilizer gun on that poor person up there, rather than sending a dog after him and stuff like that? And not just the guy in the foothill. I mean, there must be other examples where if you hit him with a tranquilizer gun, he's going to just kind of fold up after a while. Carry him out, carry him away, turn him over to the professionals that he should be turned over, or that should be there to deal with him. Or is there a law against that?
I'm looking at that.
You're looking at that?
There have been answers to that question in the past, not in these, but I've seen it in the press, but I'm not going to say what they are. I don't want to misrepresent. But okay, so for you, it's about better training for police officers. It's about better training for administrators.
Yes.
And it's about looking at possible other approaches to, I'm not sure what the word is, but to calming or sedating somebody who's out of hand, other than things like tasers and guns.
Yeah. And then the other thing is the little puzzle over the gathering, the staff meetings that I see as I'm driving along.
Better distribution of hours.
Is it scheduling? What is it? Why are these people allowed to gather their stories? And you get two veterans talking baloney together, and that's what it is. It's a lot of baloney.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thank you for that, John. So, Kathy, you're in the throes of research. Do you want to answer the question, or do you want to come back?
No, I'm going to give you an answer.
Okay. What you have for us?
Like I said earlier,
Yes.
we've got to stop deploying the SWAT team every 5 minutes. They're serving arrest warrants with the SWAT team in this city.
So be more prudent and judicious in when we send out SWAT.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we should use them only for hostage situations.
Okay, all right,
Period.
okay.
The other thing that I'd like to say is that we have a problem with cops on authority trips, and some of them really do enjoy mistreating people. I have personally spoken to several people who don't have places to live, who've named 2 cops, 2 badge numbers. They routinely go around beating up homeless people. So it's not necessarily that people have done something that causes an officer to react in this way. And another solution would be for the cops themselves to have some kind of a whistleblowing protection so that they can weed out these people. Let's get them out of here. And because we've got some. I think Albuquerque, in all honesty, I think APD has more than its fair share of bad cops relative to other places. I know they're everywhere, but I think the percentage in Albuquerque is likely higher. And I think that's reflected in the number of shootings and killings that we've had.
So we need to identify and either vet out, or I'm assuming retrain those who have an authority.
You can't train compassion.
So vet them out. Well, no, when you were talking about people who have a, shall we say, a passion for exerting their authority, that you see them being vetted out, not retrained,
Yes.
vetted out.
Well, yeah, because
And-
you cannot train a heart into people.
All right. And you'd also like to see a mechanism where fellow officers could identify
Yes.
those that aren't appropriate and be able to safely identify them to their superiors. correct?
Yes, and one other thing
All right.
that I think is really, really important, you know, and you mentioned at the beginning that this, you know, we're talking about the future.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we can fix the future until we do something about the past. In fact, I just read in the news here just a few minutes ago, on KOB has reported tonight, that there's another family of a victim who was killed in 2013 suing the department, suing the city and the two officers that just came out tonight. The victim's name was Snyder, I can't remember his first name. And this, yeah.
Okay, so do something is helpful information, although it doesn't give a sense of what specifically you would like that something to be.
Prosecution, conviction, prison sentences
Okay.
for these murderers.
All right.
And I don't think we can move forward to the future if these two guys that killed this guy are still on the force with their guns. And as soon as we address the past and get these murderers off our police force, then the sooner we can move forward in the future. But if we're not going to be willing to accept the fact that we have murderers in our police force, we can forget about talking about the future.
Okay, thank you for that, Kathy.
Sure.
So,
Barbara, how about
you know, leadership starts with the top. And unless we have a mayor and a police chief who are going to take responsibility, like that guy took yesterday in Charleston, there's just no hope. That was a stunning event, stunning in our country. We have not seen any police force anywhere where this has happened, where they immediately fired the guy, charged him with murder, and put lapel cans on everybody.
On everybody.
I mean, that
And he's
is,
in jail, he's sitting behind bars as we speak.
you know, that is really, it's stunning.
Okay.
And if there hadn't been a citizen taking a film of that to Diane's point, if we didn't see him put that taser down on the ground next to the guy after he shot him, and then made up a story about how he took the taser away, he would have got away with it, and it happens, and we have no way of knowing. Mary Hawks, that poor girl, I don't know what happened, but we have not seen where that gun came from. They have never told us.
So the recommendation is.
They can tell us right now where that gun came from.
Okay.
Any gun that they find, they can find out where that gun came from now.
Okay.
And they have never told us. So they need to be telling the truth, just like Diane said.
So transparency.
Transparency, but
Honesty.
leadership from
And
the
leadership
top
from the
down.
top.
The mayor needs to accept responsibility for this, and he is not doing it. The chief, Rob Perry, no, they are not doing it, and we have zero confidence, zero confidence. You know, the other thing I want to say is that all the people around this table are basically white people. And we have two white men who are talking about the kind of abuse that they suffered. I mean, that is outrageous.
Gentlemen, excuse me, could you go outside? Because I can't understand her in your vehicle. Thank you.
Anyway, just the very idea that two people here who are white men have these kind of interactions, to me, says we have a really big problem in our town, and these guys are just emblematic of it. I mean, I'm not, I wish everybody was like Klaus too, but I think that they aren't, and I think there's a culture of violence and a culture of acceptance of it, and a culture of tolerating it and rewarding it on a certain level in our town. And I don't know, because I have not had, particularly bad experiences with the police. But this idea that if a police officer tells you to get on the ground now and you don't do it, that could be a death sentence, is unacceptable. That level of authoritarianism does not belong in our country, period, by anybody. Just because they're a police officer to tell you, you will do this because I say so. And I'm afraid that kind of authoritarian thing, it's got to stop.
And it sounds like for you, one of the biggest ways that it will stop is doing that top-down,
The mayor needs to
starting
take
with the mayor and the
responsibility.
chief.
He has done nothing.
All right,
Less than nothing except be obstructive. in the
It's been more
extreme.
harmful.
but we're talking about the future now, we got the
Well,
past.
he's,
Totally not.
like she says, we're not going to see future behavior unless we see some of this past behavior.
No, and I completely understand, and I'm
There's
simply talking.
accountability.
Yes, and I'm not challenging that premise at all, I'm just, for this conversation, so that we get the recommendations that we can turn into action plans. John, would you please share with us what specific recommendations you have to make that relationship and that interaction the way you want to see it?
We might all learn, including the police department and its training procedures, how to de-escalate whatever the situation is, how to keep it under control by de-escalating it, as opposed to increasing it by escalating it. And that has to be learned, and that has to be taught by those who know how to de-escalate.
So, and it sounds like you're really talking about comprehensive de-escalation training.
I don't know what you mean by comprehensive.
But broadly.
Learn how to calm things down.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
No fancy terminology.
Okay, all right.
Learn how to calm things down
Okay,
and keep them calm. And
okay.
if there isn't a crime being committed or hasn't been a crime being committed, then it's not a police affair. What else? The goals and duties. Didn't you say that you went up to the mayor's office and couldn't get to speak to him?
I got arrested.
What,
We got arrested.
you were both at the mayor's office and you were both arrested?
Yep.
Sure.
You were trying to bring some of this, you were trying to bring something forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that story?
Very briefly, so we can hear from everybody else.
Well, there were a group of us went to the mayor's office at 3 o'clock one Thursday afternoon or so, and they said the mayor wasn't in. We walked into his office
With letters.
with letters to deliver to the mayor, with asking some questions and asking to meet with him. And Rob Perry or somebody in the office notified the city council that we were ransacking the mayor's office and breaking things. And they sent the SWAT
There was a
team.
That was a lie,
to take us out.
Absolutely.
They sent the
The
SWAT
city
team
council
to arrest
canceled their meeting
me
because
and
they were
Barbara.
told we were having.
One at a time.
ransacking.
Right, so we need to just.
Anyway,
get one
so they
story
arrested
quickly.
13 of us. We refused to leave the office and they arrested us for
SWAT
trespassing
team.
and
Did you have the
and
opportunity?
obstructing the workings of a government building or something.
Can I make one comment about that?
Can I ask a question first?
Hang on. Let's make this very, very quick, because we don't want to deprive these others of sharing, of having the opportunity to share too. So very quickly.
I would like to just let you know what happened. This is very brief. Because we were arrested, we pushed this thing all the way to trial. So I've gotten a lapel cam from all 13 of these officers because we got it in discovery before we went to court. So here's what I've witnessed, and I've got this, it's pretty interesting. You've got an entire SWAT team suited up in the elevator at City Hall, riding up to the 11th floor to remove a couple of old ladies. So in the elevator, that is your line. But anyway, in the elevator, then you can see this. Here's some of these cops. And they're all crammed in there. There must have been 10 of them in there with all their gear on. And one of them says, "Is there any indication these people are violent?" And I thought, boy, what a time to be asking that. And you could see the wheels turning in this cop's head thinking, why are we doing this? Why are we dressed like this? Is there any indication these people are violent?
There was a SWAT team.
Oh, yeah.
This was a SWAT team in the
A
elevator?
SWAT team.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The whole nine
I
yards.
mean,
So it sounds like you appreciated that question being asked, and perhaps you wish it had been
I
asked.
wished it had been asked before they spent an hour and a half getting all, however long it took them to get all suited up, but here's this, I mean, I could see it.
Did you go to
So-
a newspaper editor with this information?
Oh, it was.
Oh, this has been, oh, yeah.
All right, so we're not going to
What
go
does
in.
that mean?
Okay, so
Yes or
John-
no?
Yeah, we.
Okay, so we need to go ahead and, you all can finish chatting about this afterward.
It's interesting.
It is, and I'm also hearing from you that, and that you're implying, and I didn't remember hearing you say it before, but it sounds like from what you're saying that part of what should happen is that those kinds of questions be asked before SWAT goes out. The question should be asked, is there any indication these people are violent? Okay. Thank you for that. That got captured. So we're going to go ahead and move on and hear from Frank and Melina and Klaus because they have some suggestions they would like to provide as well. Specific suggestions to meet your goals.
First of all, I think what Diane and Kathy and Barbara are doing, which is being watchdogs, I think it's necessary in most any society, and particularly in situations like this. And I can see where it could be perceived as adversarial to police and politicians and all. So there's a happy medium in some place. But one thing I'd like to reiterate tonight, and I would like everybody tonight to say what they are doing to work with the police to make this a better society. I'm sure there's other organizations or whatever besides a neighborhood watch. I've been a block captain to try to obtain the kind of goals you're talking about here tonight. I would like to know what other type of activities or organizations people could get involved in, And I think the young man in the back is going to have a suggestion there.
Okay, so and here's what we're going to do. We're going to finish asking the questions at hand, and if there's time, absolutely, let's go around and do that. So go ahead, finish your recommendations.
Just to find what other options are. Not everybody wants to be a block captain. You can only have so many block captains. What other organizations are there that people can get involved with the police? Maybe on a one-to-one basis to make this a better community. I mean, we've made lots of suggestions on what the police can do to make this better. But what can we do?
Are you aware that there's a civilian, I forget what it is, you can actually go to an academy and become, after that you graduate from the academy as a civilian, it's a police academy of kind, and you can volunteer to work with the police department.
Yeah, I am aware of that. Going to a block captain a meeting at the police academy last year. I heard some folks talk about that. And I'll be going to another meeting at the police academy for block captains on about May 9th, I believe it is. So that's something. And they might have some other suggestions, John, besides that. But yeah, thank you for reiterating that.
I've signed up. I don't know what it constitutes. I've actually signed up to attend that.
Well, that's good.
Several weeks training and then perhaps volunteer to do something.
Yeah.
And so we can hear some other suggestions in a moment, but around that idea, how can the community be more proactive? But let's also first hear from Melina and Kraus. How about some specific suggestions from you, Melina, looking at what you'd like to see for relationship and interaction?
Well, first, I am going to the Citizens Police Academy that you're
Good.
talking about.
Ah, goody.
So it's a 12-week long course.
You're going to?
Sure.
Excellent.
So it's a very good training, and you get lots and lots of good information. So I highly recommend it. And I'm also already volunteering.
Good.
So that's one of your suggestions. We all should go to the Citizens
Yes.
Police Academy, okay? What
On
else?
interface with police, it's a good way.
Yeah, and I think what the police are already doing, I think they're on the right track, doing these different community things with the coffee with a cop and talk with a cop. So I think they're on the right track. But I think there's been so much damage that it's going to take so long
Yeah.
to fix it. And I think a lot of it needs to not necessarily be the primary focus, but I don't think we should forget that we need to start with kids. We may need to start, teach kids what you said earlier, that police are not the boogeyman and that they're friendly, so that you have a whole new generation of a different attitude towards police. And then the police are having these informal interactions with the public, whether they're children or adults or whatever in between. Their attitude towards citizens, regular citizens, since they're citizens themselves, will change as well. And hopefully it will become more friendlier, trusted, respectful relationship. But it's going to take a long time.
But it sounds like you see approaching it from two different directions.
Yes. I don't think we can
Not
just focus
forget.
on the adults.
Right.
Because we might be raising a whole new generation of misunderstanding and lack of communication and things like that. So I think, we need to hit it from both ends.
And which approach.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that, Melina. How about you, Klaus? What specific recommendations do you have? Before you respond to others, which I'm guessing you want to do, I don't want us to lose the opportunity to hear your specific suggestions first, please.
Okay. So, if you want a better police department, I mean, some people heard that before, but we have to ask ourselves what are we willing to do for it? Because it is not...
Louder, please.
Okay. If we want a better police department, we have to ask ourselves what we want, what we are willing to do for it. Because it doesn't come free. If we want highly educated, absolute stable, professional people in a police department who have to work under stress, which is understandable, it's with the job, work on holidays, work nights, not see the kids' soccer game. I mean, it's all facts. But if you want the people who can do this all on a high level, these are the people who can choose a different profession. So it's, if you want to attract good people, you have to have something to attract them with. And the high prestige of a police officer is not it, trust me, because it doesn't exist. So that, and right now, I mean, if we look at the last 1.5 years, we have 70 new cadets who made it through the school, and we are losing at least 120 of the old for retirement and going to other places. So something doesn't add up. So that's my thing. My goal is you need to work on something to get the good people.
And that means that we may have to look at what do we have to give in order to get that.
Yes.
Is that right?
Exactly.
I'd like to say something.
And then
Let me get
just
something first finish.
20-second answer for you. The reason you see 7 cop cars standing around is it's staff meeting, and once a week staff meeting is outside the police station at a place where there is some concern. Like for instance, there was a staff meeting like 2 or 3 weeks ago because we had a lot of auto burglaries at the restaurants on I-25.
So
So
you have these meetings, this assembly.
To show
like a
people-
Supervisor there?
Yes.
It just isn't a gathering, it's.
the supervisor there,
Okay.
it's the same.
Appreciate that.
That's the same meeting we would have inside the police station before the shift starts.
Ah,
And it's once a week, a place is picked, they said, to show our presence for people who have concerns about a drug house in the neighborhood, too many burglaries, something like this.
good, thank you.
Anything else for you?
Well, there's plenty more, but other people have to talk.
Okay, all right. But in terms of your specific suggestions, you've got down the most important ones for
Well,
you.
there's obviously training could be changed, and there's a lot of emphasis, like people said here, on how dangerous the job is. It's drilled into us how dangerous the job is. You get shown one video after the other, that one cop gets shot, another cop got shot, and it's during the academy every day you read the roster of who got killed this day. So it's there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but police officers do die, and you get told in the academy that it happens and how it happens and how to prevent it. And that's the reason we don't approach a car any way you want. There is a certain way of approaching a car, and that is why you stand at a certain place, why you walk a certain place. So it becomes second nature in how to do it. It shouldn't mean that you don't respect the people you talk to, you don't tell them your name, you don't have their concern in mind. But a good portion of what you do is always in your back. What happens if I open this door? If I pull this car over, is the guy going to open the door and shoot me? It's a good portion of what you think when you do your job. It's true.
And ask Luke also.
Yeah, ask Luke Olson. He got shot. Put him some drunk guy over.
Just pull them over.
What was it?
A police officer recently got shot, pulling a car over. The guy was drunk, the car was stolen. Instead of running, he shot him.
All right, thank you for that, Klaus. Kathy, you wanted to say something? I'm going to go next.
We're talking about recruiting good people. I'd like to suggest that, let me just say that, like I said, I've lived in a lot of places. I've never lived in a place where I saw cop cars every 3 minutes. It just seems to me, of course I have no statistical basis for this, but I just feel that since I've been in Albuquerque, I see more police than I have any other place I've ever lived. So my suggestion is this. I think we're better off with fewer cops than we are with the bad cops. I would rather see fewer overall cops. We keep the good ones, get rid of the bad ones. I'm happy to live with fewer cops. Because these bad cops are causing more harm than they're doing good.
Yes, but you're not losing the bad ones. You're losing the good ones.
That's right.
Because the reason you see so many cop cars in Albuquerque is because I have to drive 7 miles to get from one call to the other and don't stay in my beat because there are not enough of us.
Right.
So I'm driving across town and drive back, and because to certain calls 2 people have to go, so you see for these calls you see 2 guys running across town, while the other 2 minutes before that run the other direction because they're not enough.
It's not covered well.
And then if you put this amount of stress on people and you don't have the something which makes them stay, and everyone thinks, I'm not saying it's wrong, don't get me wrong, there is a problem in the police department. The problem is also that because there is a problem, and everyone thinks every police officer is just out to kill someone, you're losing the good ones who have the opportunity to go to Colorado and earn $10 more an hour or go to Texas. So it's not that you just keep the good ones. You're losing the good ones and keep the bad ones.
That's what's happening, and that's my point. But, I hate to keep comparing police officers to nurses, but I do think it's a fair comparison. Because it's serving the public. But, like I'm interviewing 6 nurses tomorrow for a position over where I work. And you know what my philosophy about it is? I'm better off with no nurse than a bad one. And I think the police department could learn a lesson from that philosophy. Because I'd rather do it myself. But I do think, I think if you're laying in the bed as a patient in the hospital, would you rather have no nurse or a bad nurse?
All right. So,
I think it's fair and fair.
there was a question that was brought up a little bit earlier, and I deflected it until we finished the last question on our agenda, and I'm embarrassed to say that I forgot what the question was that was posed to the table, that I deferred. So could somebody remind me what that question was, please? If not, that's not even that.
I'll give you a pass.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we actually have about 15 minutes or so left. And we can, there's no more questions to ask, but it seemed like along the way you all had some interaction that you wanted to do with one another. Is there anything that you all would like to use this last 15 minutes before we head on home for the evening? Yes,
I
Barbara.
would like to thank Klaus and
Me
Melinda.
too, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I appreciate that you have been, that you've listened to all this criticism without becoming defensive and other, sort of behavior that might happen. And I admire that in both of you.
Thank you for that.
I know that it is tough out there, and I know that, there are a lot of people that behave badly with the police, and I think part of it is sort of a learned response. I mean, there's been, like you said, so much bad that trying to fix this is really difficult, and I really appreciate both of you for being here, and especially you for coming and for all the work that you've done in support of Klaus in his job. I think it's admirable, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate it.
Thank you for that, Barbara. John, you had something you wanted to say.
John brought up the subject of tranquilizer guns, the use of tranquilizers. I've brought that same subject up at least at 2 of the previous 6 meetings I've been.
Okay?
Will you bring that back to your higher-ups? Maybe you can get us an answer on that as a question and answer.
Aha, okay.
Is that a fair?
Yeah.
Is that a fair request?
I can ask, but
It seems so simple, it's like
If you can
asking a
choose.
stupid question.
Well,
It's not a stupid
No,
question.
no.
I mean, it seems so
Hang on,
simple.
let's look at that. So, because there's other mechanisms to get the question answered if we need to, but I just want to check because your comfort level didn't seem 100% there with going and asking that question.
I was just thinking about what situation would I use a tranquilizer gun?
Boyd, the Boyd
Boy,
situation.
it would be a
If
perfect
we
example,
talk,
but I'm
if
sure
we
there's
talk
others.
about the Boyd situation, there is a totally different problem on this situation. It's the tranquilizer gun is maybe one of another 100 solutions which could have happened. Let's start out. Why was Mr. Boyd not at a place where he could get help? Mr. Boyd broke a police officer's nose a year before the incident. He slashed someone else's face with a box cutter in one of the homeless shelters. He was clearly a disturbed, violent person who didn't get the help he needed. The help didn't need to come from the police department. He was at a place where the police got called to remove him because, not the police, because someone else didn't want them there. So society clearly failed him on so many levels, and the police was called to fix a non-police issue. That's how it started. Now, did the police act 100% right? Not in my mind, but I wasn't there. I'm not the one to second guess. So I don't actually know all the things which happened and why it happened. The beginning of this incident, Mr. Boyd was approached by 2 open space police officers, and he pulled the knives on them. At this moment, he could have been shot. He didn't. The officers retreated. They called backup. Was it handled correctly? No, I personally don't think so. But I also don't have the SWAT training and the training to say what should have happened. I could have thought about different ways, but then this different way might have gone wrong too. now it would have been my fault. You see where I'm going there? It's not 100% the police's fault, yes. I think the interaction could have been a lot better. A tranquilizer gun in this moment, let's say, just for an example, you shoot him with a tranquilizer gun, he falls over forward because he's standing at a hill, he hits his head and is dead. He got killed by the police. Just as an example. That's the reason why tasers are not used if someone stands at an elevated position normally.
Not in this department.
That's not what we got trained.
Well, we got an ear burned off by the
But-
WG.
See where I'm going. 5, 6 times before I got even to this bad police interaction, it could have gone a different way. And on these 5 different levels, the courts failed twice because you clearly should have gotten some help. There is no mental health which helped Mr. Boyd. So just putting the blame on the police that they ended up in this position and then even blaming the 2 people who shot him, who got put into this position by someone else. See, they weren't there because they chose to be there.
Can I ask a question?
Well, yeah, definitely.
What did you think about Keith Sandy saying he's going to shoot him in the penis?
Saying what?
Now give me a break. Which normal person have you ever heard saying someone, I'm gonna shoot him in the penis, especially if it's a police?
It's pretty clear on that video.
No, it's not. It's only clear if you read the subtitles. If you got the video shown the first time without the subtitles, you actually hear something different. But now, just second guess and ask yourself. If you think about the people in the police department you think are in the SWAT team, who would use the word penis in this? No, actually, who did you ever hear say the word penis in a situation like this? What word would they use? So that doesn't make any sense to me on any logical level. Also, if you hear the tape again, there's another. You could actually hear something else if you didn't read the subtitle which was put there.
Well, I watched it, I didn't see any subtitles.
The other thing is, why not just, what was he doing that was so bad and dangerous by just being there in the hill? Why not go to the person who's making the complaint and say, oh, we're just gonna sit here, I'm gonna sit here in my car, and if something happens, I'll be here.
So-
Rather than, spending 5, 8 people, 10 people, dogs, and up there. I mean, I think it was John that said earlier, if somebody isn't doing something illegal, why bother with, all this police action, like this guy yesterday in South Carolina. Stops a guy because his tail light is out, theoretically, and then the guy ends up dead, running for his life and then shot in the back. Why even bother with letting that situation get escalated? I'm telling you, your light is out, and now you can go on your way. Why, go on to this other level? Why not just say...
Because you're leaving out the little details here. Number 1, the police wasn't called because they wanted to be there. Some citizen
Right, and
called
so
them
go to the
on
citizen
Mr.
and say,
Boyd.
we're not going to
No,
kill
that's not-
somebody over
The
this.
the law hasn't been made by the police either. Camping in open space is against the law. Police didn't make the law. They were called by someone who has the right to tell them to leave. Is it wrong? In my opinion, yes. It doesn't matter. We have to enforce the law. It doesn't matter if I think it's right or wrong. If I go to a domestic violence call, I have very narrow possibilities of what I can do. In 90% of the cases, I have to arrest someone because it's by law. Do I think it's right? By no means is this right, but I don't have a choice. So the person who came there didn't have a choice by law. We don't have this latitude as the public thinks we do have.
Well,
as
sure you
police
do,
officers.
because you just said, sometimes you could give a citation and you don't.
So there's certain kinds of...
So you could have the guy could have been said, listen, it's illegal in camp here, but we're not gonna enforce this. We're gonna talk to the person who's complaining about it, and we'll keep an eye on the guy.
Yes,
Barbara,
that's
it's-
how it
wait,
started.
come
The
on.
guy pulled 2 knives.
Okay, so Barbara, wait. It's
But it wasn't
starting to
death
feel,
penalty
excuse
case.
me,
I'm
excuse
sorry.
me. It's starting to feel as though you're asking Klaus to justify the actions and decisions of other officers. And I thought at first you were asking rhetorical questions, but it's feeling like you're
Okay, I
putting him on the
understand.
defensive and it's
I'm
not
sorry.
fair.
I didn't mean to do that.
Okay, thank you for that. And I understand your passion. We all got passion about this. But let's stay at a friendly and respectful conversation with one another. Thank you for that.
I apologize.
Thank you for that also. All right, briefly, I'm going to hear from John L. first, and then I'm going to get the other John, and then I'm going to get Frank, and then we're going to close. So John
Just
L.
one reasonable question while you're here, I don't want to pick on anybody or anything. Who would I contact in the city police department, I guess, to say, why can't you include a tranquilizer gun in your battery of weapons that you carry? I'm sure there are circumstances, maybe Boyd wasn't the correct one, but I'm sure there are others where it might be helpful. The one that comes to mind is the officers who went over the fence to arrest a guy who was mentally deficient and he somehow or another ended up being shot or dead. Wouldn't a tranquilizer gun work better under that circumstance? I don't know. But I just would like to ask somebody the question, who could I get in touch with, I guess, to ask the
Well,
question?
one thing I would propose that you do, John, is, I think you should take multiple approaches, because I'm not sure which one is going to be the best one, but on the comment form, ask that question.
I'm
Good.
adding stuff, I don't want to,
And you might want to isolate that question,
yes.
and make sure to give your contact information so they know who to answer.
I'm going to do that.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other suggestions as to how John might get his question answered?
I'm going to write it down for him, the
Okay.
possibilities.
Okay, and then how would you get the answer to him?
He's going to get the answer because he is going to ask a different person directly.
All right, okay, good, thank you. And John, across the way from me, you had something you wanted to say?
Someone asked earlier, I think it was you, what are we doing to help the police? Is that the broad nature of the question? What are we currently doing to help the police?
I think that was the question that I forgot that we were going to go around the table and ask. I didn't ask the question, but go ahead and share what your thoughts are right now.
I belong, as I indicated when I introduced myself at the beginning of the meeting, I belong to Sandy's Civitan Club. Once a month, we give an award to the Uniform Officer of the Month and the Detective of the Month of APD. And the hierarchy in my group, in my club, communicates with the hierarchy of the police department to determine which policemen deserve to be awarded, and we have them come to our meeting, and a description of their actions is read openly, and we present them with an award as well as a check for money, so they can take their wives out to dinner or their husbands out to dinner or something like that.
So you're really making a conscious effort to acknowledge the good when it happens and acknowledge the people that are doing the good, the officers.
And we do that once a month.
Nice, nice. Thank you for that. It's a beautiful thing to be doing to support.
And one other thing, and this is mostly aimed at Klaus, is I'm not at all against the police department. I just had a couple of bad experiences personally with them, and that's part of the definition of why I'm here. Part of the definition is the bad experience. But on the other hand, that policeman in particular had a very bad experience with me. The courts went against him.
Okay.
The judicial system turned him upside down.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you got that balanced out in that service. Thank you for that, John.
He is not.
Well, sometimes lessons are painful. So we're going to hear from Frank, and then we're going to close. Briefly, Frank, what's on your mind?
A brief question for Klaus. What is that machine with the blinking green light that's sitting in front of you?
That's a computer.
Ah,
It's my laptop, which I normally have in my police unit, and because today is one of the days where I'm actually paid to be here, I have to tell where I'm going, when I'm going. So basically, when I'm on the way here, where I am, and when I'm on the way back, and that's done via this computer.
Thank you for that.
yeah, thank you.
All right.
Who would we talk to see about being able to view all of this military equipment that MPD has acquired? Because I mean, I'm a member of the public, you know, but I'd like to see their robot that I've seen them use. I'd like to take a look at this tank that I saw yesterday. I just think I would like to see and have an opportunity to know exactly what the police department has, and I'd just like to look at it.
What
Go
about
to the
that
Citizens
12-week
Police
training
Academy,
class
where they
at the
all
I
academy?
work
Yeah.
full-time, I'm not
Yeah.
going to, I have
Yeah.
4 kids, I won't be spending 12 weeks at the Citizens Police Academy. But I think as the member of the public, I think that I'm interested in what our police department has. So you think that I could call Garmin maybe?
I think there's a different way of getting the information you want. One of them is there's a web page where you can ask questions like this. If you can just get a tour or what
That's
of
exactly
the
what I'm
specific
after.
stuff you want.
Right.
So I gave one name to
Okay.
John,
Mhm.
and as I said, there's a web page here which is talkwiththetalk.com, and this is where you can actually ask your personal question and get an answer
Okay,
from a
great.
person, not just from a system.
Talk with a cop, right?
Yeah.
And you can also, as part of the Talk with the Cops site, you can also pre-register for all of the rest of the dialogues
Oh, right.
up through 20, so you can accomplish multiple tasks with one.
Okay, great, thank you for that.
Thank you for that. And
I
then
think it'll be
also,
interesting to see, but I was run off last night. and I'm
the
sure-
police department has recently hired, is her name Selena? Selena, and she is excellent at working between the community and the police department. She's attended several of these dialogues. She's very active with the community policing councils, and she's a great person to talk to get
How do
those
you
kinds
find
of
out?
things.
Look right here, Barbara.
It's on there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do need to wrap up.
Could I just add one more thing? To answer Frank's question, another way you can get involved is there is a civilian oversight police agency, or civilian police oversight agency. And they have a board, and they have meetings, and they will be having a meeting tomorrow where the city council normally meets at 5 p.m.
Thank you, that's right. Okay, so I want to thank each and every one of you for your time, for your passion, for what you're doing to help our community. Thank you. Please take a quick moment and fill out the evaluation so we know what we can do better and what we did well. Make sure that at least mine or Jeanette's name is on there so we know what belongs to. And if you don't have a calendar, we've got 7 or so more to do. And so if you'd like to join some of them, if you fit into stakeholder groups especially, please register for it.